NVIDIA has broken out of this sideways range on higher than average volume. Beautiful move. Let's look at just a couple things on what's going on with the stock. So it's up 251% in the last year, one of the top performing stocks out there. And one of the reasons is phenomenal earnings per share growth, how much the company is making. So it had 268% earnings increases in 2023. Analysts are projecting 103% average earnings growth per year over the next 5 years, and that includes 66% earnings growth in 2024. So definitely some reasons to be bullish about the stock, and investors are jumping on board. One thing that's come up is it overvalued? The price to earnings ratio currently stands at 71.5, but that is backward looking. So when we look at PE, it's typically going to be high in very strong, high growth stocks, because people aren't only looking at what the company has done in the past, which price to earnings, the PE ratio measures, but they're also looking at forward or future growth. And that's what forward PE measures. So it's looking at the future growth divided by the stock price, or the price divided by future earnings, and that is 26.6. Now, for some reference, the PE ratio of the S&P 500, what the stocks of the S&P 500 trade at on average, is 26. So if NVIDIA can get their earnings in 2024 what people expect them to be, at that point it would be trading at about roughly the same PE as the S&P 500. Of course, there is an if there. We're projecting into the future, will they be able to make the earnings that analysts expect? Anyway, so that's a little bit of the background on NVIDIA. Let's look at the chart. So here I've basically just doubled a box, and this is probably one of the most simple kind of technical analysis concepts out there, is that you just measure the size of the pattern that you're breaking out of and you extrapolate it. And that would put a target right around the $609 mark. Another thing we can do is look at prior price waves to get a sense of how far the price could run. So if we just throw a line on here, we'll actually use the measuring tool. So this was a bottoming, and then it had a nice run up, and that was about 60 to 65% before it had this little choppy period, you can see. So basically we're measuring from where a wave started until the choppiness or the wave ends. Then we had a little one here pushed up out of this choppy period, down ran about 25-26%, and then we enter this other choppy period. Then this one just going from a low point into here, close to about 45%, let's call it. And then we have a series of these small price waves. So if yes, you could have stayed in this and made a bit more, but it wasn't the really strong move that started it, got a little bit more choppy. And then here we entered the sideways period, so we weren't in this uptrend anymore. So if we extrapolate that NVIDIA is in fact entering a new uptrend, and you can decide for yourself if that is the case, then we can also use those price targets. So we had one in there that was only about 20%, and if we go from this a low point up about 22% or so, that puts us at about the 580 mark, and we're getting close to there already. If you're more in the camp that we could see one of these big rallies like we did here or here, then we have a much higher price target. We'll probably need a bit more room for it. So if we were to rally, let's even say 45% off that recent low, we're going up into 660-ish for a 40% rally. 45%, you're looking at about 685. And a couple of these were over 50% rallies. If that were to occur again, be up into the 710. And I believe this first one was, yeah, closer to 60%. So you could extrapolate even a little bit more. But that kind of gives us a ballpark figure. This area in here and out into, yeah, that kind of 700 range. And we don't know how long that could take place over. That could be, it could happen very quickly. It could take place over a few months. Or we could, you know, have a failed breakout and drop back into the range. So even in these high flying stocks that everyone starts to think are super safe because they have such great earnings, just remember to always manage your position size and your risk. Have an exit plan for whether this price goes up or down, because it wasn't that long ago that this very same stock had a almost 70% decline from late 2021 to 2023. So all stocks can have big moves no matter how good they seem. So just be aware of that. And if you're invested, hopefully more upside. And if you're looking to get involved, some things to consider in NVIDIA.